Chapter 14: Farms in Competitive Markets. Our goal in this chapter is to answer these questions. What is a perfectly competitive market? What is marginal revenue? How is it related to total and average revenue? How does a competitive farm determine the quantity that maximizes profits? When might a competitive farm shut down in the short run or exit the market in the long run? What does the market supply curve look like in the short run? What about in the long run? As an introduction scenario, imagine 3 years after graduating, you run your own business. You must decide how much to produce, what price to charge, how many workers to hire, and etc., etc. What factors should affect these decisions? Your costs that we studied in the last chapter, how much competition you face in the market. We begin by studying the behavior of farms in perfectly competitive markets. So, what is a competitive market? Perfectly competitive markets are markets, one, with many buyers and sellers. Two, they trading in identical products, homogeneous products. Because of the first two, each buyer and seller is a price taker, takes the price as is. And three, farms can freely enter or exit the market. These are the characteristics of a perfectly competitive market. Revenue of a competitive market. Let's define some terms here. Total revenue is TR equals price times quantity. Average revenue, or AR, is equal to total revenue divided by output. Marginal revenue, or MR, is change in total revenue over change in output, or delta TR over delta Q. Now, for competitive farms, it is important to remember that average revenue is the same as price, and marginal revenue is also identical to price. So average revenue is equal to marginal revenue is equal to the price, and that is true only in competitive farms. You can fill this one out, as we know. Quantity or output, price, when you multiply quantity times the price, you get total revenue, and that is this column. And in average revenue, total revenue divided by output. So you take out this column, divide by the first column, gets you this. Marginal revenue is delta TR over delta Q, change in total revenue over change in output, or the slope of the total revenue. It is important to notice that, as we mentioned before, that marginal revenue is exactly equal to the price. And you'll notice that it's also equal to average revenue. So price equals to average revenue equals to marginal revenue. And that is only true for competitive markets. A competitive farm can keep increasing its output without affecting the market. So each 1 unit increase in output causes revenue to rise by the price. That is, marginal revenue is equal to the price. MR equals P is only true for farms in competitive markets. We have mentioned that before. Profit maximization. What output maximizes a farm's profit? Thinking at the margin. One of the 10 principles in chapter 1 was people think at the margin. If output increases by 1 unit, revenue rises by marginal revenue, but cost also rises by marginal cost. So we compare marginal revenue with marginal cost. If marginal revenue is higher than marginal cost, it is advisable to increase output because that will raise profit. If marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, it is advisable to decrease output to raise profit. So profit is maximized where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. The table here we can uh, calculate. We're given total revenue and total cost. That is column output, total revenue, total cost. Profit is simply total revenue minus total cost. Marginal cost is changing total cost. You're changing the input or the change in the output. So how do we get profit? Total revenue minus total cost. 0 minus 5 is minus 5. 10 minus 9 is 1. 20 minus 15. As you can see, profit is rising until profit is maximized here. And of course, we have calculated the profit here. And at any output, when marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, increase output, that raises profit. At any output where marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, reduce output. So where do you stop? There's a marginal cost and marginal revenue. At QA, marginal cost is less than marginal revenue. This is marginal cost, rate off, and this is marginal revenue. As you can see, marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost. The advice is increase output to raise profit. When you get to QB, marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue. How do you raise profit? Reduce output to raise profit. So where do you stop? At Q1, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That is the point where profit is maximized. Changing output, once you get to Q1, that would lower the profit. Either way, whether you lower the output towards QA or you raise output towards QB, profit will go down. So the rule is marginal revenue equals marginal cost at the profit maximizing level of output. If, however, price rises from P1 to P2, what will happen? Then the profit maximizing quantity will change from Q1 to Q2 again, where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. The marginal cost curve determines the firm's output at any price. Very important. So the marginal cost curve is the firm's supply curve. Another very important conclusion. Marginal cost curve is the firm's supply curve, and that is competitive firm we're talking about here. Shutdown versus exit. Sometimes in business, you make profit. Sometimes you make losses. When you make losses, sometimes you have to shut down, and sometimes you exit the market altogether. So, a shutdown decision not to produce anything because of market conditions. That's a shutdown. Okay? Maybe you temporarily shut down. Exit, a long run decision to leave the market, get out of this business altogether. That's a long run decision. Shutdown is a short run decision. What is the key difference? If shut down in the short run, you must still pay the fixed cost. You must still pay the rent. You must still pay the property taxes. You must still pay the insurance. Those are fixed costs associated with running the business. So you still incur costs even if you shut down the business for a while. If you exit the market, then of course you do not incur any cost. Short-run decision to shut down. Should a farm shut down in the short run? Good question. Cost of shutting down is revenue loss. When you shut down, you don't get any revenue. Okay? That's total revenue is lost. Benefit of shutting down, cost savings. You do not incur variable cost. You still remember you have to incur fixed cost, but if you shut down, you are not incurring variable cost. Because the farm must still pay the fixed cost, shut down if total revenue is less than the variable cost, or when price is less than average variable cost. In ordinary language, if you cannot even cover the variable cost, you should shut down. This is a graph of the per unit cost curve, average total cost, average variable cost, marginal cost. These are the costs that we developed in the last chapter. So, when price is above average variable cost, the farm produces output where price equals marginal cost. Anywhere on this curve above this minimum point of the average variable cost is the farm's short-run supply curve. At any price below AVC, then the farm should shut down. If the farm cannot even cover variable costs, that farm should shut down. This point, the minimum point of average variable cost, is also sometimes known as the shutdown point. The farm's short-run supply curve is the portion of its marginal cost curve above average variable cost. Irrelevance of sunk costs. Sunk costs are costs that has already been committed and cannot be recovered. It should be ignored when making decisions. You must pay them regardless of your choice. In the short run, fixed costs are sunk costs. So fixed costs should not matter in the decision to shut down. Farm's long-run decision. Should a farm exit or enter in the long run? The cost of exiting the market is the revenue loss. When you get out of the market, you lose revenue, total revenue. The benefit of exiting the market is cost saving. You don't incur cost. Remember, fixed cost is equal to zero in the long run. So, farm's long run decision: exit the market if total revenue is less than total cost. Also, the same as price is less than average total cost. Enter the market if total revenue is greater than total cost, or the same as price is greater than average total cost. Competitive farms' long-run supply curve is the portion of the marginal cost curve above the average long-run average total cost. Okay. The farm's long-run supply curve is that portion of its marginal cost curve above long-run average total cost. Active learning, identifying a farm's profit. How do we identify a farm's profit here? Determine this farm's total profit. This is the price, this is the average total cost. Identify the area on the graph that represents the farm's profit. Price is $10. Profit per unit is price minus average total cost. So if you're selling it for $10 and you're producing it costs you $6, that is per unit average total cost, then the profit is price minus average total cost, or 10 minus 6. So per unit profit is $4. So total profit, therefore, is that $4 times 50. Remember, you have to produce where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So the area of this rectangle is the total profit. Identify the loss. If you're not making a profit, you're making a loss. Can we identify that loss? Determine this farm's total loss, assuming average variable cost is less than $3. Identify the area on the graph that represents the farm's loss. So this is marginal cost, this is average total cost, and the price the farm is selling its products is $3. So obviously the guy is making a loss because the price is below per unit cost. You're bringing in $3 as sales, but it is costing you $5 to make. So the loss, the per unit loss, is $5 minus 3. That is $2. Total loss, therefore, is that $2 times 30, and the loss is 60. Market supply assumptions. Number one, all existing farms and potential entrants have identical costs. Number two, each farm's costs do not change as other farms enter or exit the market. We are dealing with a constant cost industry. Number three, the number of farms in the market is fixed in the short run due to fixed costs, variable in the long run due to free entry and exit. Short run market supply curve. As long as price is equal to or greater than average variable cost, each farm will produce its profit maximizing quantity where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Recall from chapter 4, at each price, the market quantity supplied is the sum of quantities supplied by all farms. Short-run market supply curve. Assuming there are 1,000 identical farms, at each price, market quantity supplied is equal to 1,000 times one farm's output. So this is one farm, this would be the market. So if the price is P1, and if at P1 we're producing 10,000 units, then the market, if one farm is producing 10 units, the market will be producing 1,000 times 10, and that is 10,000. If the price is P2 and the farm is producing 20, then 1,000 farms will be producing 20,000. If the price is P3 and then this single farm is producing 30, then the market will be producing 30,000. That is how we derive short-run market supply. We are assuming all identical farms. Entry and exit in the long run. In the long run, the number of farms can change due to entry and exit. If existing farms earn positive economic profit, new farms enter. Short-run market supply shifts right. Price falls, reducing profits and slowing entry. In other words, if profit is made, it triggers other farms to enter, and as other farms enter, they bid out the profit and slows the entry. If existing farms incur losses, some farms will exit, short-run market supply shifts to the left, and price rises, reducing remaining farms' losses. Zero profit condition. The long-run equilibrium. The process of entry or exit is complete in the long run. The farms that are going to enter the market if there's profit have entered the market, and the farms that were leaving the market if there is loss have left the market. The long-run condition is consistent with zero profit condition. So remaining farms earn zero economic profit. So, zero economic profit is when price is exactly equal to ATC, or average total cost. Since farms produce where price equals marginal revenue equals marginal cost. The zero profit condition is price equals marginal cost equals ATC. Recall also that MC intersects ATC at its minimum or minimum ATC. Hence, in the long run, price is equal to minimum average total cost. Why do competitive firms stay in business if they make zero profit? Remember, total profit equals total revenue minus total cost. Total cost includes all implicit costs like opportunity cost of the owner's time and money. So, zero profit equilibrium means economic profit is zero, but accounting profit is positive. Long run market supply. One farm in the long run, the typical farm earns zero profits. So, price is equal to minimum average total cost. In the long run, market supply curve is horizontal, where price equals minimum average total cost. A farm begins long run equilibrium. So let us say that this farm is in equilibrium and the market is in equilibrium at this point A. When an increase in demand raises profit, something has changed in the market. Maybe incomes have gone up, maybe tastes have changed, but we are seeing demand has shifted to the right and has raised profit. This will be reflected in the farm as the farm will begin to earn more profit. Price rises from P1 to P2, leading to short run profit for the farm. So farms are now making profit. Over time, profit induce entry, shifting supply to the right. Immediately remember there is free entry and exit. And when other farms see profits being made, there's going to be entry. And when there is entry, supply shifts to the right from S1 to S2. So supply shifts to the right, and that reduces price. Price goes from P2 to P1, and we revert back to long run equilibrium at point C. So this drives the profit to zero and restoring long run equilibrium. In other words, profit is contestable anytime there is a change in the market condition. When profit comes in, other farms will enter, the profit will be bid away, and a long run equilibrium is reestablished. Long run supply curve is horizontal if all farms have identical costs and costs do not change as other farms enter the market. We call that constant cost industry. Long run supply curve might slope upwards if farms have different costs or costs rise as farms enter the market. We also call that increasing cost industry. Farms have different costs. As price rises, farmers with lower costs enter the market before those with higher costs. Further increase in price makes it worthwhile for higher cost farms to enter the market, which increases market quantity supplied. Hence, the long run market supply curve slopes upwards. Costs rise as farms enter the market. In some industries, the supply of a key input is limited. Each, for example, amount of land suitable for farming is fixed. The entry of new farms increases demand for this input, causing its price to rise. This increases all farms' costs. Hence, an increase in price is required to increase the market quantity supplied, so the supply curve is upward sloping or increasing cost industry. Profit maximization. Output where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. We have seen that before. Perfect competition is where price equals marginal revenue. So in the competitive equilibrium, price equals marginal cost. The competitive equilibrium is efficient, maximizes total surplus because price is equal to marginal cost. Marginal cost is the cost of producing the marginal unit. Price is the value to buyers of the marginal unit. So competitive farms are efficient. Summary. A competitive farm is a price taker. Its revenue is proportional to the amount of output it produces. Price equals marginal revenue equals average revenue. The farm's marginal cost curve is its supply curve. Short run, a farm cannot recover its fixed costs. Shut down temporarily if price falls below average variable cost. Long run, the farm can recover both fixed costs and variable costs, exit the market if price is below average total cost. In a market with free entry and exit, profit is driven to zero in the long run. All farms produce at efficient scale. That is where price equals minimum average total cost. The number of farms adjusts to satisfy the quantity demanded at this price. Changes in the demand have different effects over different time horizons. Short run, an increase in demand raises prices and leads to profit. A decrease in demand lowers prices and leads to losses. Long run, in the long run, zero profit equilibrium is established.